Warning: Please note that this podcast contains strong language and touches on many topics that may not be considered appropriate for a work environment. If you choose to listen to this podcast where you can be overheard, we are not responsible for the consequences of your decision. You've been warned.
Spoilers, people! I'm back, still stacking plaques, still action-packed, and though I keep it flipping like acrobats.
Really?
Yes, really. Hi folks, we all have an X-Chromosome. My name is Bill.
And I'm Noelle.
And this is our first Call to Action podcast to basically get everybody up and going and actually doing something. So we're going to talk about elections and voting. But before we dive into that, let's get through the business at hand. That it seems as though I'm the only one that really can throw this out there. Not saying that people can't, but people don't like to do it. So I will be the sacrificial white guy for this. First off, all of our social media is connected to our website at www.xchromosomepodcast.com. This has our Facebook, this has our Twitter, this has our Instagram. It is everything that we have except for TikTok, because we're not video related in that regard. So you're not going to see us doing any TikToks anytime soon.
Nobody wants
Unless Huey decides that they're going to start TikToking, but that's all up to the Generation Z Millennial Huey. Secondly, also on the website, there is connection to our Patreon and a donations link to PayPal. Help us go through and get everything put together. All of our news rants are now going to Patreon when we don't have a topical rant. So if you want to hear Noelle yell about the news that's going on, you're going to have to go to Patreon, and we're going to go through and get that done there. So everything is connected to our website, xchromosomepodcast.com. Go there, and you'll have all the information that you need. Another thing that's mentioned there, but we want to make sure that you guys know about, is our email address. You can email us at writeus@xchromosomepodcast.com. That's writeus@xchromosomepodcast.com. Tell us what you think. Tell us your stories. We want to be a platform for you. We want other ideas for other podcasts for the future. And there's people that want to be on the podcast, but we don't have topics at hand. I've been going through trying to talk to people on Twitter and other forums, because there's a lot of cool people that have interesting stories, but there's not something that we can go through and formulate proper time. So let us know what you want to hear about. Tell us about you. Write us at xchromosomepodcast.com. Lastly, also off the website, we now have merchandise, because we want people to be able to promote enjoying the podcast, and we are using some of Ilea's designs that she made for the podcast to put on a shirt, put on a phone case, whatever. We have black, white, and rainbow, so we got the whole thing going through there. So that's basically all the business, unless I missed something.
I believe that's all of it.
All right, so we're trying to be more topic-based to try to get things organized. And one of the things that when we're going through the topics, I mentioned, we're going to have Election Day coming up.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first Tuesday of November.
Every year.
And that's what people forget. It's every year. Not counting the special elections that might come up because of people either resigning or, unfortunately, like Representative Cummings, who passed away. That was a loss for the Baltimore district of Maryland. So rest in peace. even the odd number years are important in regards to this country, the state you live in, or the city you're living.
In my specific case, in my specific town, we are switching from a village to a city. We've decided to be a charter city. We have to vote as to whether or not to adopt the charter as it's been written by the committee. That's kind of important. We also have here in Ohio the need to vote for some people for the school board, which I don't know how they do it in your state, but you should know how your public library's board is made up. Often in Ohio, the library board and the school board are the same people. So if you want to champion diversity and champion access to information and the freedom for kids to find books they need that speak to them and resonate with them and are safe from challenge, this is an important thing to know and to find out and to vote. We also have some municipal judges to vote for. So if you want to change the makeup of the courts, you need to research your candidates and you need to figure out what the fuck they're on about and you need to pick responsibly. I know it doesn't seem like voting matters. On a large scale right now, it's really hard to make it matter. On the grand stage, everybody's kind of an asshole. And we're just looking for the least shit-encrusted one. But on your local level, your town, your county, this is where you can make the biggest difference at the ballot box because it's just you and your neighbors and the people across town, and there's not nearly as many people voting. So every vote really, really counts, and that's why off years matter so much.
Like, for example, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, they recently had a vote to basically take a part of the city of Baton Rouge to basically annex itself off and create its own city. If you look at some of the maps that they drew up, it was basically a gerrymandered piece of crap. It was like, oh, we're going to just go through and take the white section of Baton Rouge and try to separate that from the black and poor section. Some of the ways that the things were drawn up was like, what the hell?
It's called segregation, Bill, and that's why people need to be paying attention.
Yeah, now they're going through this thing that certain parts of the border, if they want to stay within Baton Rouge Parish, they're going to have to submit something to keep them on the border in Baton Rouge, and it's a big, huge mess. But you got to look at things like that, because like Noelle's case, their village is becoming a charter city. That's a big deal for many of these many communities. You're changing the aspect of your community politically and everything.
Yeah, you're changing the composition of the courts. You are changing the composition of your local school board. If you don't go out and vote for progressive and liberal candidates in these positions, we're just going to get more of the same shit show. Where it's going to be even easier for people to push bigoted and homophobic agendas because they absolutely are going to turn out. So remember, there are people who are passionately devoted to making this world shitty for everyone not like them. They will absolutely be there. Rain or shine, doesn't matter how long it takes. Some of them may have even voted absentee or gone to an early polling place to make sure they get counted. So we've got to push back if we want to take control of to take control of the system. To be super duper leftist, we need to seize the means of production for creating justice. And that means the government, so that we stop being shitty with it.
Now, on our website, where we will occasionally blog, because I am known to be able to type words in good communicative format, one of the things that I pointed out, not just locally, but even though this is an odd number year, we have 3 elections for governor that are going to be happening. Mississippi, Kentucky, and Louisiana. These states can be problematic.
They are hell pits of repression and abuse.
Like, even the Louisiana governor, who's a Democratic governor, he tried to basically put a pro-birth bill through because that's how he feels.
Gross. Need to get rid of his ass.
Unfortunately, and that's the thing, though. It's like you can get rid of his ass, but while he's got the pro-birth issue, he also did a lot for LGBTQ stuff that his opponents don't want to consider or care about. So it's like,
they could do better. They could do better.
Yeah, and one of the ways that people can do better is by getting experience. And that's one of the reasons why these local elections are important, especially on the odd number years. Now, I live outside the city of Boston, all right? And I will say that my city is basically liberal as fuck. I probably have never lived in a more liberal city, period. But for example, right now for this election cycle, we have our election for mayor. We have 2 school committee seats that are being contested. And we have basically a city counselor at large, where we pick 4 candidates for the council. Now, I didn't even know about the council at large until I got basically a postcard in the mail from one of the candidates. It was the only one that I've gotten anything from the candidates. So I actually went to look at things. Like, we have 8 candidates running for 4 seats. 4 of them are up for re-election. The person I got the card from is a new candidate. But it's a good way to go through and look to see what they're seeing about your city, what they want to go through, how they feel about the issues with things such as rents or noise pollution or anything that's going on to affect your city. I lived in a city in Massachusetts that had the same type of town council election set up. One of the things that the city didn't want was Walmart, and that city only elects 3 town councilors, and one of them almost lost re-election because one guy put in a write-in campaign to get elected on just the grounds of, I do not want Walmart in the city, and I will do everything to stop it. He almost got elected. He was only 10 votes short. People complain that all these celebrities run for government, that don't have experience, that all they know how to do is be billionaires, and things of that nature. These elections for things like town council and mayor and school board and everything that needs to be elected is what gets you the experience so you go on to work elsewhere, state government, other federal government positions. So if you're running around the excuse of they don't have experience, you're not going out to vote to get these people that you want experience.
Oh, it absolutely helps. Look at what we get when we have somebody with no actual governing experience in charge of things.
Granted, not everybody could be AOC either, too.
Well, she has, degrees in being good at running things. And also, she's probably been a shift manager in one of her jobs, just based on her raw leadership ability.
Right.
So she's had more, communication and leadership and managing skills than, a rich man, an old rich white guy who has never had to work a day in his life.
Being a billionaire is not a qualification.
No. On the subject of experience, I have more experience being a leader and governing simply because I've run a guild for a bunch of years. I know how to get people who don't like each other to work together. I know how to compromise. I know how to... Sometimes you gotta pull one party aside and be like, hey, why are you being this way? How can I get past this boundary you've put up? So, really, all we're saying is, please don't forget November 5th that there's important shit going on, and you should find your polling place, and you should show up. Also, check and make sure you're still registered. There's been a lot of chicanery about purging voter rolls and election fraud and shit like that. Make sure you can still vote, and then go fucking do it. A lot of these things happen in GOP-held states. They're literally trying to use the system to disenfranchise us so they can hold on to power. There's only one way to push back, and that's remind them we're not going anywhere.
This is why when you start seeing everything about check to see if you're registered to vote, you need to check to see if you're registered to vote. I know that in Massachusetts, almost after every election, I wind up getting something from the town clerk saying, "Hey, do you still live in this place that you voted for? Please respond to this so we know to keep you on the voter roll." Because I know with Massachusetts being as small as it is, it's easy to just go through and jump between small towns, small cities, because it's a very transient location. In the past, I would say in the past 10 years, I've lived in 6 different cities and I've had to go through and change multiple times. So it's one of those things where everybody is shifting all the time. But the thing is, as soon as I moved here to where I live now, the first thing I did was register here because I knew how important it was. It should be just as important to change all your documentation and register where you are as soon as you go through and move. A lot of the people for these elections that are coming up, they've missed their opportunity to register.
But go out and do it. You might not be able to vote this time around, but take this as the call to action to go and get registered. The biggest third of voters didn't show up in 2016.
And it's easy to go through and get disenfranchised about voting.
But yeah, I mean, it's easy to get discouraged. It's easy to not feel like you're doing anything. But politicians are literally trying to pass laws to further disenfranchise people from being able to vote because it's still powerful.
And you have to stop and remember that, all right, we're getting ready to go through a presidential election. There is a good chance that a candidate that you want to run as president won't be the candidate selected. You can't stop that from basically voting for whoever is going to try to make the country the best it can. I have a friend who was recently talking about the presidential election and the Democratic primary. One of the comments that they made is that I don't care who you vote for, but if you vote for Harris, I'm going to have to seriously question you based on the fact that of Harris's background in California, basically
oppression?
saying, yeah, she's a cop. But my friend was really just pounding into the fact about no Harris, no Harris, no Harris, no Harris. And after the last election that we had for president, I'm pulling no punches in regards to one question. So I said, all right, let me ask this question. If it's Harris versus Trump, who are you voting for? And they said, Harris, blue no matter who. I'm like, all right, I just had to check. And he was like, I don't know why you felt that you had to check. I'm like, because
people literally voted for Trump because they couldn't vote for Bernie.
Or they didn't vote at all.
And that's how we got here.
If you're a Bernie fan, a Warren fan, a Mayor Pete fan, an O'Rourke fan, any fan, I don't care what fan you are in regards to who need to go through and make sure that Trump or Pence isn't president. And I'm saying, or Pence just in case we're lucky and the bastard actually gets impeached.
Yeah, although Pence might go down with this ship, so.
We might go down with the ship, but we can't trust that you will right away.
Right.
So one of those things where we have kids locked in cages. We have possible Supreme Court seats in the future. Who knows what's going to happen with the Supreme Court? We have things that need to be fixed long term. And we have to make sure that people can be people and be humane about it. I don't care race, sex, gender, orientation, blue, green, black, yellow, red, chartreuse, whatever.
It's chartreuse and...
It's also desire, not desire.
It's 2 syllables, not 3! Oh my god. Yes. Or 12 if you're you too.
That was because I'm in a poetry class for writing again, and I just found out that desire is 2 syllables, not 3. But still, it's one of those things where you need to do whatever you can to vote. And it's going to be difficult for many of you too, because a lot of companies don't like people to have to leave work or be late for work.
Burn a sick day. Call off. I show up. Find out when your polling place opens. Be there pushing your nose against the glass. I am, because I know I don't have time either end of the day, and I don't want to miss it. I don't have time to put it off till the end of the day. I'm going to be there with my nose on the glass because I get to decide the future of a place I love, and that's super important. Also, very important, you want additional parties. If you want to break the two-party system, voting locally is how you get that shit done. We cannot jump into more independents, more Green Party, more libertarians. Ugh, I said it. I feel dirty and I need another shower, but I said it. But we cannot break the two-party system if we don't start at home. So if you don't like any of the main party candidates in your local election and there's another option, pick it. Find out how to get that extra party on the ballot. Be active locally so we can build the momentum necessary for federal offices.
Because you can't get another party in unless you get at the lower ends and get a grassroots movement from the bottom. Show that people at a lower can win locally, so they could win at other levels, so they can move up the chain. It's a good opportunity to go through and let another party expand. But yes, if there's an independent that you want to vote for at your local level that you think could help actually do something locally, vote for them, push them, try to get them in. It's one of those things where it goes through, and the local part is important.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can't vote because you missed your deadlines, get off your ass now and go register for 2020.
Yeah.
We're going to have primaries coming through. Not all the Republican primaries have been canceled. So if you want to go through and put a thumb in Trump's eyes, a thumb in Trump's eye, you can go through and vote for whoever. I think it's Weld that's running against him right now in some of the primaries. But just because there's an incumbent doesn't mean you can't vote unless your state canceled their primary.
Which is super shady. Super shady.
So go through and register and vote. Not how many Senate seats are in 2020? Let me check. Because getting the Senate is going to be important too. So
because we see how a very deadlocked Senate can completely fuck things.
Including the special elections in Arizona and Georgia, Republicans will be defending 23 seats in 2020, while the Democratic Party will be defending 12 seats. Depending on the results of the 2020 election, Democrats will need to pick up either 3 or 4 seats to gain a majority in the Senate. Because right now, if I'm correct, there's 2 Democrats. Harris, she's a senator, right? 3 senators running for president: Harris, Booker, and Warren on the Democratic side. So if one of them pick up the nominee and they win the presidency, that's going to be one Democratic candidate. And if, say, they decide to say a Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker ballot. Oh, Bernie, I forgot Bernie. Bernie's senator. But still, it's like if you want to go, if both 2 senators team up to be president, vice president, there's going to be 2 short seats right there if they both win that. So, and one of the seats that are going to be up for grabs is Moscow Mitch.
Yes.
I've already sent my $10 to his opponent because, oh yeah, by the way, Republicans hate it when that Celebrity California money goes to Democratic candidates not in the state of California. Piss them off even more. Give money to candidates that aren't in your state just to help them win. So if she wins, I will be happy that I've done something for the state of Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
So voting's important. Listen to who you want to vote for. Do whatever you can to, while it's okay to talk about the concerns that you have with the candidates, don't feel like don't make it sound like if you vote for this person, you're trash for voting. Don't disenfranchise other voters from voting.
Yeah.
because that is a thing that we have to break in the long run if we're going to want to go this.
Unless you're voting for somebody who is absolutely actual trash, is a bigot, racist, or straight up Nazi, or, a straight up serial child predator. I'm looking at you, GOP. Unless you're actively voting for those sorts of people, you're not entirely trash, but if you can vote for those people, please exit the country. We don't need you or want you around.
Another thing.
Please feel disenfranchised and stay home.
Another thing that you have to worry about. Oh, it looks like so-and-so is going to win the election. Go vote anyway. There was so many polls saying, well, it looks like Hillary's going to win this, and people stayed home because it looked like she was going to win. And I remember 538 or whatever it is, the website, they had like 4 different ways that said Hillary is going to win these 3 ways. But if these things come into play, Trump will win. And all of them came into play. So no matter how much of a lead your candidate seems to have in the polling before you go vote anyway. Don't sit at home because you think that you don't need to go because they're going to win. There's been so many come from behind victories in sports. It happens in politics too. New England Patriots fans, you remember when the Giants beat you twice in the Super Bowl? It happens in politics too.
Mm-hmm.
And now my friends will hate me. So, we're tired. We're exhausted.
We're tired.
And we don't want to yell. We want to be able to sit down, have calm conversations about the issues. Help us stop yelling. Go vote. Vote for the right people.
Vote ethically. Vote responsibly. Vote informed.
Don't vote just because a meme tells you what to vote for.
Don't vote for the person your parents would have voted for simply because your parents would have voted for them, and therefore it must be correct. Parents are dumb. I love my parents. They were dumb in some cases. Love my grandparents. Got a Republican side of the family and a Democrat side of the family. Funny, their children kind of switched. So I got it from all directions. I listened to Meet the Press growing up, and let me tell you, that is some stimulating shit when you're 10 and full of brunch. It's not. So I've actually watched the collapse of the Republican Party kind of in real time from that angle. And that's what happens when you knee-jerk vote, Republicans. You get where we are now. Don't vote blindly.
I wonder a lot about this, actually. If my mom didn't pass away before the election, a large part of me thinks that she would have been swayed enough to vote for Trump. And I'm glad that she passed away before that election actually happened, because that would have been a very difficult discussion, and it might have gone through and had a fight broken out. It was bad enough that my family that is still living in the swing state of Florida voted for Gary Johnson. And that's another thing. If you're in Ohio, if you're in Florida, if you're in any of these swing states, it's especially important that you go and vote. Because unfortunately, we still have the Electoral College, and all of these things matter.
Yeah, everything matters forever. Be involved.
Queen is wrong. Everything does matter. Unfortunately.
Everything is political. We're real tired. And we're kind of done.
This is why we're going topic-based, folks, because all we do is yell. And to quote Noelle, a bitch gets tired. I think we're done. Do you think we're done?
I'm done. This week's executive producers are Noelle and Bill Malvasi. Executive director, Bill Malvasi. Our technical director is Huey Algol. Our news producer and social media on Facebook is Brian Grimes. Bill handles the Twitter machine and occasionally the Instagram. Music by Alpha Riff, and we're your hosts. I'm Noelle.
My name is Bill.
And we all have an X-Chromosome.